Hello everyone, in this video we will be discussing module 4 in design of machine elements 2. So basically this particular module consists of two major topics, that is clutches and brakes. So before moving to what is the design and what is the purpose of all other things, we should be knowing the applications and the working of the clutches. So basically what is a clutch and where it is used and in which way the types of clutches are differing and what kind of clutches we can recommend or we can prefer for any like one particular type of automobile. So all those things are very much mandatory to do the design of the clutches. So we should have a very clear idea about the clutches parts and its specific applications and other things. And similarly, if you see the second part of this module, that is brakes, that is also like almost very similar to the in module 1 we had some discussions, that is belts, ropes, wires, chain sprockets. So all those things we had discussed. So the second part of this particular module, that is the brakes, that is also like very similar to the belts, ropes and chains, and almost even some kind of similarities are there in the clutches and the brakes. So we will see like what kind of similarities and in which way it is it is easy for us to understand in a better way. So first we will start what is clutches and the necessity of clutches in an automobile. So where these clutches are mainly useful. So these clutches are mainly useful in the devices with two rotating shafts. So whenever any applications where two rotating shafts are there, like in some cases even three or four also applicable. So usually two rotating shafts where these clutches devices are useful. And in these devices, one of the shafts is typically driven by a motor or pulley, as we know that already in the belts we discussed. Even in the brakes also we'll be discussing the same thing. Out of two shafts, in case if I'm considering two shafts, means one should be rotating with the help of a motor or the prime mover. Usually we call it that is a driver, and another shaft is a driving a driven device, that is a follower. So in a drill, for instance, one shaft is driven by a motor and other is driven a drill chuck. I think this is the best example you can remember for that one. So in this two connections, the clutch is something which connects the two shafts so that they can either be locked together and spin at the same speed, or it can be even decoupled and even spin at different speeds. So basically it acts as a common bridge between the two shafts where exactly the rotation has been transmitted from the one shaft to another shaft. So we can able to lock it, and we can able to stop, or we can able to improve the speed or increase the speed. And if you see the other example in a car, definitely you need a clutch because the engine spins all the time and the car wheels don't. So in order for a car to stop without killing the engine, the wheels need to be disconnected from the engine somehow. So here the clutches allows us to smoothly engage a spinning engine to a non-spinning transmission by controlling the slippage between them. So to understand how a clutch works, it helps to know a little bit about friction, because usually for the making of the clutches we will be going with some metals which is having a more what is that metallic qualities, in the sense like during the operation it can able to induce lots of friction. So when we speak about the clutches, the very important concept what we need to remember is the friction. So a clutch, in a proper definition, we can able to define it as: a clutch is a mechanical device that provides for the transmission of the power, and therefore usually motion we call it, from one component, usually from the driving component to the follower, and to the another, like we can call it as a prime mover or follower, whatever thing when engaged. And but it can be disengaged also in the same methodology. And the clutches are used whenever the transmission of power or motion must be controlled either in amount or over time. Example, electric screwdrivers limit how much torque is transmitted through use of a clutch, and the clutches control whether automobile transmit engine power to the wheels. So in the simplest application, clutches connect and disconnect two rotating shafts, that is the drive shafts or the line shafts. In these devices, one shaft is typically attached to a motor or the other power unit, the driving member, while the other shaft, the driven member, provides output power for work. While typically the motions involve a rotary, linear clutches are also possible, and the clutches used to engage or disengage the engine to the transmission or gearbox. Example, when the clutch is in the engaged position, the engine power or rotary motion of the engine crankshaft is transmitted to the gearbox and then to the wheels. Here you can able to see, if I'm talking about when the clutch is in the engaged position, so where the shaft has been received already the power from the source. Usually when we speak about the car means here the engine. Okay, so where the rotary motion of the shaft, where I want to transmit to the next shaft. I mean, in case of the car means usually through the gearbox only I'll be transferring. So here the clutch is in the engaged position means it paves a way to transmit the motion without any like a breakage or without any deviation or other things. And similarly, when the clutch is disengaged, what happens? The engine power does not reach to the gearbox. It completely acts as a obstacle. And obviously, like once the power is not reaching to the gearbox means in turn even the wheels also will not receive any kind of rotary motion. But still the engine will be running. So clutch it is something like which acts as a proper bridge. Whenever it is required, we can able to transfer, and through the gearbox means where we can able to multiple the rotation also. And the clutches is also used to allow shifting or changing of the gears when vehicle is running. This is very important in case if I want to increase the speed of my vehicle, whatever I'm riding. So like a gearbox is one where I could able to like multiple the number of rotations. So if it is rotating at 200 rpm from the engine, I'm rotating like I'm talking about means I need to convert the 200 rpm into like 400 rpm, 600 rpm or 1000 rpm, whatever the thing. So how I can able to convert that with the help of a gearbox. And even when we drive the car, we can able to see that we will be keep on changing the gears starting from second gear, third gear, fourth gear. So what is the meaning of that one means I'll be shifting, or I will be transferring my rotation from second gear to third gear inside the gearbox. All these things happening. So for transferring this speed from like second to third, third to fourth, or four to five, whatever the thing. So all these things is happening in gearbox with the help of clutches only. Like all these things is possible. And for shifting gears also, clutch is first disengaged, and then gear is shifted, and then clutch is engaged. Clutches has to be disengaged to stop the vehicle and also at the time of idling. So principle of clutches. So clutches basically operates on the principle of friction. So as I said, when we speak about the clutches, the thing what we need to like remember is friction. And nowadays even anti-friction materials are also used, but still friction plays a very major role in the discussion of the clutches. So when two surfaces are brought in contact and are held against each other due to friction between them, they can be used to transmit power. It sounds little like a new, but actually this is the fact and this is the principle. And if one is rotated, then other also rotates, and one surface is connected to engine and other to the transmission system of automobile. So thus clutch is nothing but a combination of two friction surfaces. And moving to the main parts of the clutches, so it mainly consists of a driving member, that is a driver, a driven member, a follower, and an operating member. So usually something like a pedal kind of device, in case if we speak about the trucks, cars and the buses, where you can able to see the pedal. So that we call it as an operating member. And a driving member has a flywheel which is mounted on the engine crankshaft, and a disc is bolted to flywheel which is known as the pressure plate or a driving disc. And the driven member is a disc called a clutch plate, and this plate can slide freely to and fro on the clutch shaft. And the operating member consists of a pedal or lever which can be pressed to disengage the driving and the driven plate. Okay. So in the upcoming videos, we may discuss what are the different types of materials used for the making of the clutches, and for the different applications like two-wheelers, cars, buses, trucks, like different types of clutches will be using, like how exactly we'll be choosing the right material. So that we will discuss in the next video. Thank you.